Now with the concept of multiplying fractions, we just need to make a simple tweak with that particular principle, and then we're going to have to divide them. So division of fractions can be written in several forms. You can have the basic one will be a over b divided by c over d. You can also have this same in a form a over b divided by c over d. Sometimes this can also be written as a over b times c over d. Now when you have any problem like this, I want you to take note, okay? These bar here are just the division bar, okay, for the individual fractions. But the long bar, the bar here is what is actually showing the division of the fractions, the two fractions. So here, let's see, here we have one whole fraction here which is being divided by another fraction. So we're going to have to stick to usually the basic one. We're going to have to stick with the basic one. Yes. Okay, so this is the basic one, what we usually see. Okay, so let's look at it. I have this one. So per this particular concept, what we did before, we know that in this fraction, this is the numerator, this is the denominator, d. This is the numerator, and this is the denominator, d, right? And we said that if we were multiplying, we would have just gone ahead and then multiply the numerators, c, and then d times c. But okay, we can't divide a by c. This is not allowed. This is not allowed, okay? So what we have to do is the concept of reciprocation. So to reciprocate, or reciprocation, I mean in basic terms, to say switch the second fraction, okay? So switch the numerator and the denominator of the second fraction. So here we have a over b. In the second fraction we have c over d. Now if we are going to switch the second fraction, we realize that in the second fraction, c is the numerator and d is the denominator, but we're going to switch. D is going to go up as numerator and c is going to come down as denominator. It's a very simple. That is the concept of reciprocation, switching the second fraction. That is just all you need to do to get a concept into your mind. So here I have a over b, then I'm going to have d over c. Now the moment you switch the second fraction, what happens is that the sign changes from being a division to a multiplication. So you can now multiply the numerators, a times d and then b times c, and that gives you the. Alternatively, what you can do is also that if you are multiplying fractions, multiply the numerator of the first fraction by the denominator of the second fraction. So the numerator of the first fraction is a by the denominator of the second fraction, which is d, and then the numerator of the second fraction, or the denominator of the second fraction, which is d, by the numerator of the first fraction, which is c. Apparently this is the same concept being taught in two different ways. It's the same concept. I hope you get that. Let's look at some examples in here. Yes, let's look at some examples in here. So our first example goes as this: 2 over 3 divided by 4 over 5. Okay, so what is the first step? Switch the second fraction. Okay, so this is my first fraction, 2 over 3. Now my second fraction is 4 over 5, but I'm going to switch that as 5 over 4. and this becomes a multiplication. And what do you do when you want to multiply? Multiply the numerators, which is 2 times 5. 2 times 5, and multiply the denominators, which is 3 times 4, and this gives you 10 over 12. Okay, let's do some more examples. 7 over 6 divided by 1 over 4. This is going to give you 7 over 6. Switch the second fraction, 4 over 1, and this is going to give you 7 times 4 over 6 times 1, which is 28 over 6. Let's look at some more examples. 8 over 15 by 6 over 5. Okay, we're going to have to write the first fraction, switch the second fraction, that will be 5 over 6. And this is going to give you 8 times 5 is 40, 15 times 6 is 90. So I'm going to write this question and I will give you a minute to solve it. So 5 on 3 divided by 9 on 10. Then I'm also going to give you 3 on 7 divided by 30 on 4. So this, I hope you were able to solve it. This is going to give you 5 on 3 times 10 on 9. What we just did is to switch the second fraction. 9 on 10, 10 on 9. Then we multiply the numerators. 5 times 10 is 50. 3 times 9 is 27. And here, we're going to have 3 over 7 times 4 on 30. Again, we just switch the second fraction, reciprocation, and that will give me 12 over 210. Okay, great. How about when you have a whole number and you want to multiply that by, yes, it's the same thing, the same concept, nothing changes. Yes, so divided by 1 over 2. Okay, great. So here what you're going to have to do, I have 2 here times 1 over 2. Let me switch the second fraction, is 2 over 1. And again, we're going to have to multiply. This is going to be 2 times 2 over 1 times 1, which is going to be 4. 4 over 1, which is the same as 4. Great. So let's look at an example here, like 4 divided by 2 over 3. This is going to give you 4 times 3 over 2. And this is going to give you 4 times 3 over 2. 4 times 3 is 12 over 2. 12 divided by 3 is 6. So our final answer here is 6. Let me give you one more problem. How about when I have 10 over 21 divided by 3? Hopefully you get it. Let me give you a minute. Hopefully you get it. If you did it correctly, you should have 10 over 63. In case you couldn't do it, but this is 10 over 21 times, reciprocate the second fraction. Now this is a whole number, so when I reciprocate it, this will be 1 over 3. And multiplying 10 times 1 is 10, 21 times 3 is 60.